Ladies and gentlemen, the American Jury and Bulldog Nation, I want to take you through a chronology of what happened with the good old COVID virus in this country and in this world. And we're going to take you through it to just point out the absurdity of all. It's very important to go back and do this every once in a while on an issue because it frames the issue, it puts it in context, and it puts it in perspective. So here we go. We're going to put this up on the screen as I go through them because I want to emphasize each and every one of these. The rumors of the coronavirus came out in China at the end of 2019. And remember, France has now actually told us that they warned us about this in 2015. So then we get to 2020. On January 17th, travel restrictions were put in place by the Trump administration. And they called him, you know, every possible name that you could, that he was being a racist. January 28th, the World Health Organization praised China for its speed and openness with the virus. January 31st, Trump issued travel ban on China. February 5th, Fauci writes that the store-bought face masks are not effective against COVID. February 18th, the CDC reaffirms that the risk to Americans from coronavirus is low. Now just think about that. This is what they're saying, and Trump still issued the ban on China travel, and he got blasted for it, including by Joe Biden. Then in late February, Nancy visits Chinatown and encouraged the people to gather. Nancy Pelosi, that is. That's what we're trying to do today, is to say everything is fine here, Pelosi said. Come because precautions have been taken. The city is on top of the situation. Good old Chinatown in San Francisco. That's what she did. March 8th, Fauci describes lockdown measures in China as draconian and stated that such restrictions wouldn't be feasible in the United States. That's what Fauci said, March 8th. March 8th, Fauci tells 60 Minutes, there's no reason to be walking around with a mask. March 15th, Fauci flips in previous statements and says he would be open to a 14-day shutdown to stop the spread. Now, I'm going to pause here just for a minute. Just imagine. Trump is stuck with this Fauci guy. If he fires him, you know, he's going to be completely obliterated in the media. If he keeps him, he knows he's dealing with a jackwagon, but he's kind of stuck with him. And from day one, I always said it was obvious to me that Trump didn't want to lock down anything. He was trapped by this Fauci moron that the media loved. All right, it gets even better. March 18th, Biden suggests in a tweet that Trump is xenophobic, meaning foreigners, fear-mongering for his China travel ban. March 20th, 2-week lockdowns started going in effect around the country. Lockdowns continue throughout the year. There's massive unemployment. Businesses go out of business. March 30th, churches get shut down. A pastor in Florida is arrested for holding church services. In May, Andy Beshear bans mass gatherings, not mass, and church services. Federal judge then halts Beshear's ban on church services. In mid-May, Trump says he can have a vaccine ready by the end of the year. Unprecedented. Operation Warp Speed, working with the drug companies by fast-tracking everything. Trump says, hey, I'll get this done. Unprecedented in the history of this country. Trump did that. The American Communist 10 blast Trump from every angle, saying that is not possible. May 25th, George Floyd dies while being arrested. In the summer, massive violent protests, riots, gatherings across the U.S. by the political left amidst the pandemic. The media and Democrat concern about spreading COVID disappeared. In October, Kamala Harris says during the presidential debates she won't take the vaccine if Donald Trump tells us we should take it. I'm not taking it. Compare that with what's going on today with the government and the vaccines. This is great, isn't it? November, Moderna and Pfizer's vaccine announced shortly after the November election. They held that till a week after the election. Elections can be rigged in all kinds of ways. Here is Trump's administration fast-tracking that for these drug companies who are going to make billions and billions of dollars. And those sons of a bitches did that to him. Held it till right after. November 17th. Fauci flips, recommends uniform wearing of masks to help curb the surge of coronavirus cases in the United States. Then we get 2021. In January, Biden takes credit for Trump's work to get the vaccines out to Americans. He didn't have jack to do with the vaccine. And Trump did. And he starts taking credit. In January, Biden mandates masks. In May 2021, the CDC lifts the mask and social gathering restrictions for vaccinated. CDC statement, the science is clear. If you are fully vaccinated, you are protected and you can start doing the things that you stopped doing because of the pandemic. Unbelievable. You get vaccinated, coast is clear. Think of all the people that went out there and got their vaccine, their right to do, based upon that information. May, Fauci, lifting of the mask mandate is a very important step in the direction of trying to get back to some degree of normality because this is something that everyone has had on their mind. Folks, I want to stress this to you. During this whole 2021, this new Delta variant crap that's going on, okay? Isn't it amazing that if this was going on when Trump was president, they'd blame Trump? Have you heard any blaming of Fauci and Joe Biden of the uptick? And then they talk about the breakthrough. And another, they use a word that doesn't make any sense. Breakthrough infections. In other words, people who are vaccinated are getting the damn infection. They call it breakthrough. All right. In July, the CDC reverses the indoor mask policy, saying fully vaccinated people and kids should wear them indoors. Now, that's the odyssey in a very simple, general way that we've gone through. And what they did to Trump is unforgivable. How they treat Biden, Fauci, the flip-flopping, the bullshit, the lack of, not know what they're doing. And Fauci always says, well, science changes. Science changes. Well, this is the Delta variant. And remember, folks, finally, and by the way, for all those people that died directly as a result of COVID or indirectly, it's sad. But people die of the flu. We all are going to die. Folks, we all going to die. We all die. We all die of something. But the rate of death is so low, and the way they've treated this like the bubonic plague is just a circus. And the same thing with the Delta variant. Nobody said you get more sick. The Delta variant death rate, they go, oh, it spreads faster. Doesn't kill anybody any different than the coronavirus. And if you have underlying issues, you got underlying issues. From day one, as I've always said, in a medical malpractice case, you got to tell the jury what should have happened. Well, I'm going to tell you what should have happened. From day freaking one, they should have focused on getting the vaccine done for the people that wanted it and to beat this thing. Number two, they shouldn't have shut down any damn businesses at all. None. They should have went with the herd immunity issue. The way they handled this from day one was a joke and was wrong. They kill out all the businesses. I mean, how they financially ravaged this country, just awful, awful. We should have spent all the money. We shouldn't have handed out all the money. They should have done one thing, focused using the money on medical treatment of people that get sick with COVID. Don't give out any money to businesses because they're not going to be locked down. They're not going to be shut down. Business as usual. Focus on the healthcare treatment of people with COVID. Why? Because you got sick, but you weren't going to die. Spend all the money on the healthcare of people that get sick with COVID. Not knock down anybody or anything. That's what they should have done. Another thing that drives me crazy is everybody knows that if you've had COVID, like I've had COVID, you have natural antibodies built up for it. So I have talked to, by the way, not crazy people, well-educated doctors. My personal primary care physician and a dear doctor friend of mine both gave completely different recommendations to get the vaccine or not get the vaccine. Very solid reasons. This isn't misinformation being spread out there. There is legitimate reasons for people not to want to get the vaccine, including Kamala Harris. You know, she said, I wouldn't get it. And then the other thing is you build up these antibodies, then they want to start adding a booster shot. So you got 10 times the antibodies. You don't need 10 times the antibodies. It's like, okay, you need this amount. Well, we're going to give you this amount. Even you don't need that amount. Well, we're recommending you get that amount. So the fear of the vaccine for many people is completely legitimate. And then the movement that we're dealing with right now is these employers and everybody saying you have to have the vaccine to get there. Everybody needs to stand together and push back. If half the people in a hospital said we're not getting the vaccine, that hospital's not going to make you get the vaccine. It won't happen. You think they're going to lose half their nurses and half their staff? Then what happens? I'm just telling you, folks. You got to have the courage to stand together. You got to have that courage. Come on. This is the Bulldog. Every dog has their day. Have a great day.